Welcome to Tuesdays with Terry. We're excited. We are on our 9th episode. We have a great show for you today. A couple of guests that are going to talk, again, all things Aquinas, but we're also going to switch back and forth, learning a little bit about history as well, and introduce a new segment coming up, Terry on the Trail, which we'll have featured in a few future episodes. So without any delay, I'm excited to welcome our first guest today. Ryan, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Terry.
Yep, and we were talking about your title a little bit before we got started today. So, campus historian. So, tell me kind of a little bit, first of all, let's be back up a little bit. Tell me a little bit how kind of you got to Aquinas, because I know there's a baseball piece in here.
Sure.
And then we'll talk a little bit about this campus historian piece. But yeah, tell me like your path to getting here at Aquinas.
Well, 32 years ago, January of 1993,
Okay.
I actually got a letter in the mail from the Aquinas basketball coach, Rick Elbro.
Okay.
I was having a really good senior basketball season,
Yep.
averaging about 17 a game.
Yep.
Rick sent me a letter, said, "Hey, Ryan, congratulations on your season. Would you be interested in coming to Aquinas and taking a tour and maybe talking about basketball?" I thought, basketball to me was kind of my worst sport. I like football and baseball better. I was like, I'm just going to throw this away. I'm not interested.
Yeah.
My dad said, "You know what? No, why don't you send this questionnaire back?" This is before internet.
Yep.
"And fill this questionnaire out, and why don't you put on there that you're interested in learning more about baseball?" So I filled out the questionnaire, sent it back. Probably a week later, I got a letter from Terry Beauchamp, obviously legendary coach. He also sent me a program, one of the Aquinas programs. Of course, it's got pictures and things like that in there. I was like, oh my goodness, these guys play a 60-game schedule. They've had guys go to the major leagues. I really need to look into this more.
Okay, yep. So your interest was piqued. Your interest was piqued.
Absolutely.
Yep.
I sent the questionnaire back and set up a tour. Really, I'm going to say maybe the first week of February. Came to Aquinas, met with Coach Beauchamp, talked about Aquinas, did a campus tour, which everyone loves. And I at that point, put Aquinas at the top of my list.
Okay.
I visited a couple other colleges, but when the financial aid package came back, so I got some scholarship money.
Yeah.
I decided I would say to come to Aquinas.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you came to Aquinas. What position did you play?
I was catcher and also did some DH.
Okay.
So would catch maybe one game, DH one game. Did a little bit of outfield too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Led the league in home runs?
Yeah, in practice, yes.
In practice, yes.
Yes, I was a really good home run hitter in practice. I probably ended up with maybe 8 home runs in my 4-year career.
Excellent.
So I did a few each year. Actually, my freshman year, I pitched hit for somebody with the bases loaded. There was a wild pitch. And the next pitch, I hit a home run over the fence there. So I had a 3-1 homer against, they were called Grand Rapids Baptist then. They're now called Cornerstone.
Okay.
So that was one of my freshman year highlights.
Okay.
And of course, each year I played a little bit more and stuff.
Yeah. Do you have besides that game, do you have a game that kind of sticks out for you that, this is one I remember like yesterday?
A couple of them. Of course, I got a lot of Coach Beauchamp stories, but probably my junior year, we're playing in the conference tournament down in Battle Creek.
Okay.
I didn't start the first game, so I was down in the bullpen, which was kind of down the left field line, and I was warming up pitchers down there. We got to about maybe the 5th inning, and we had a couple guys on, and Coach Beauchamp, of course, he's coaching third base. He yells in the dugout, "Tell Ryan to start swinging a bat." Well, people didn't know I was down in the bullpen at that time, still warming up a pitcher. So the time came for me to bat, and he says, "Ryan, you're up," and he's looking in the dugout. And everybody's like, "Well, Ryan's down in the bullpen." And Coach Bo saying, "Who did I tell to go down there? You guys are supposed to go down there and tell Ryan to swing a bat." He yells down there, "Ryan, you're up." So I'm running down the third baseline. I've got full catcher's gear on. I've got one guy on each side of me trying to take my shin guards off, take my chest protector off, my mask and everything. They give me my batting gloves. I get up there to bat, took one practice swing. The first pitch I took, the second pitch I hit off the top of the fence and cleared the bases. That's one of my, memorable moments.
So Coach Bo knew.
Apparently he did. And then, of course, I never went down to the bullpen the rest of the tournament either. I had obviously a great tournament. I had like 2 or 3 hits every time. We won the conference tournament, went on to the regionals and so forth and so on. So that's probably one of my more memorable ones.
Awesome,
obviously, successful and came through in the clutch. And like I say, I never went down to the bullpen after that. He told me to always keep a bat, or I was in the starting lineup, I should say, after that. So, yeah.
Excellent. Yeah. So showed your skill right there.
Yes.
Came in clutch, delivered the whole bit.
Yeah.
So when we talk about like your path here, now you're here, you've had the Aquinas experience. over the years, your role has kind of changed a little bit here and there, and now you're a campus historian, and still have some to do with locks and keys, I hear, too.
Sure, I definitely do.
Definitely do.
Yeah.
You fix the lock here in the studio. You fix the lock here in the studio.
Yeah.
So when we think about like your experience, like looking at campus historian, like a cool part of this is like you're finding out things that are not only like important part to shaping the institution and where we're at today, but also like these random, just fun things. And when you think about that, and you think about putting all this data together, like you've told me stories, like I see, like, we're in Homeding, we're actually in the music room, correct, right now?
Yeah, that's correct, yes. Yep.
So our studio is in the music room here in Homeding. And, there are bits and pieces. I'm going to ask you a question you may not be able to answer, but I'm just going to throw it out there. Have you, is there one or two stories about Aquinas that stick out when you think about history?
People always ask me, what is my favorite building to talk about? Every building, I always say whenever I give tours, we've got 47 buildings here on 117 acres.
Yep.
Of those 47 buildings, 7 of them are over 100 years old. Another 5, 95 years old. So really, 25% of our campus is century old. And you would think probably one of the older ones might be one of the ones that I want to talk about. But to me, really, the library, I think, has really the most interesting history. There used to be a house there. Some people don't remember that. That was built in 1914. And the guy that had that built, his name was William Malden Smith. He was actually a senator from Michigan. And he was actually in charge of investigating why the Titanic sank. So I always say, you know what? In a roundabout way, you can kind of put Aquinas and the Titanic in the same sentence. Of course, it's a long ways away a little bit, but has a great history there. And one of the interesting things, too, is that Aquinas moved to this property in 1945. 1 year later, Reformed Bible College, they're now known as Kuyper, they bought that house that was the former William Malden Smith estate. And they added on to that throughout the years. They were there for 42 years, so we've kind of been neighbors with Reformed Bible College for all those years. And just some of the things that they did, they added one section on there, then another section on there. And then we purchased it from them. We tore the house down. And then we added a section on there. Then we added the library on there. So a lot of different construction projects and a lot of really cool history throughout the years with just that library section, the Reformed Bible College there too.
Yeah, it's fascinating when you think about, one of the things that our goal is with Tuesdays with Terry is to look at how can we not only learn all things about Aquinas, but also bring in that history. Sure. So you and I have talked about this, and our audience had a little bit of a preview, kind of our last episode, but we are going to move to, you and I are going to spend some time together over the next few weeks, and we're going to have, using the mic here, we're going to have basically kind of the history minute on Aquinas College. So I think one of the things I think would be, we'll film from different locations and just offering a tidbit about Aquinas history and just kind of keep that in the record. So looking forward to it. And we have a cool mic that, again, will have cool stickers, and we'll share that history minute.
Yeah, that sounds great. Every building has got an interesting story. There's not one building we have on campus that doesn't have something that's really interesting on it, whether it be during the Aquinas College years or even before Aquinas is here, before 1945. So a lot of very interesting stories here.
And I think that's a piece where, folks, as they know, I know one of the things that you do for staff assembly is kind of a, the history minute or a moment in time with Aquinas. And
Aquinas history,
Yeah, that's a nice piece of things that I learn each time. And, when we think about like what we're doing here at, in Homeding, there's famous people that slept here.
Yeah.
There are, key individuals that are part of history. And I can't not leave out of our conversation the hauntings.
Oh, yeah, there's always... Everybody, that's probably the biggest question I get. Everybody wants to know, Ryan, what... can you tell me some haunted stories? Everybody wants to know haunted stories, whether it's Halloween season or not. Everybody wants to know what building is haunted, and then what ghosts are here and who's haunting the place. So I actually do have a separate presentation just called Haunted Aquinas. So I've got all the ghost stories that I've gathered, probably 50-some ghost stories throughout the years. And obviously I tell those in October and then do, the haunted tours, usually during the month of October too. So I could do those year round though. There's so many people that ask about them, but I try to just keep it to October if possible.
That's true. And I think one of the pieces that is fun when you look at the tours coming through the building and you see community members come in, alums come in, and that engagement that occurs with everyone, and not only reconnecting to Aquinas, but connecting to the stories of what may or may not exist.
Yeah.
I'm not here to say whether it's haunted or not.
Yeah.
You know, that would be an interesting, maybe in October, we could do a little segment, Terry on the Trail, and maybe do a little bit of a haunting story.
Oh, absolutely. I think that'd be great. I love hearing from alums too. When alums come back and either do my haunted tour or other tours, I love hearing their stories. What do they remember during their time? Do they have any interaction with any sort of hauntings or things like that? So I'm always gathering more stories and wanting to add, like I say, to my collection.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And, you know, the other thing is when we think about Aquinas and we think about the history, there's so much that we don't know yet. Like the whole aspect of what are going to be the stories that we're going to tell in 5 years, or what are going to be the stories we'll tell in 20 years about the college and the different successes that we have. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've got kind of a running Google Doc where I'm always adding different emails that I receive or different stories that I hear, so that way I can always go back and kind of reflect on what it was there. Like, oh yeah, I remember the story now. I have to tell this story now.
Yep.
You know, even if it's only been 5 years or so, there's still some interesting history stories, you know, throughout the years.
Yep. Yeah. So now getting to know Ryan a little bit, we're going to do some rapid fire questions.
Okay.
And I'm sure you've probably seen some episodes and you know what some of these may be.
Sure.
But you're ready. Are you ready?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, here we go. Your favorite cheese?
Swiss cheese.
Okay.
Yeah. I put that on pretty much all my sandwiches for the most part.
Okay, excellent. Yeah. Your favorite ice cream?
Currently, it's cookies and cream, but I also like Mackinac Island fudge a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And your favorite cookie?
Chocolate chip.
Okay, so like the double. Now, is the chocolate chip dark chocolate or milk chocolate?
I prefer probably the milk chocolate, but of course I'm going to take either one.
Okay, fair. So not oatmeal raisin?
No, I'm a chocolate chip guy. Love chocolate, plain chocolate or chocolate chip.
Okay.
Yep.
Your favorite pizza?
Stuffed crust meat lovers.
Stuffed crust meat lovers.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm really loaded up there. I know that. It doesn't really matter the brand. Really, from any place there, I like the stuffed crust meat lovers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, a memory.
Okay.
Elementary school that sticks out to you when you think about something in elementary school that sticks out.
Yeah, probably the first day of kindergarten.
Oh.
I still remember it. It's hard to believe that I can remember that far back, but first day of kindergarten, obviously, first day really away from mom, I was crying. Did not want to go to kindergarten. Obviously crying and crying and crying. I remember my mom started taking off, and of course I cried a little bit louder then to get her attention.
Get her attention, yeah.
She came back and said, Ryan, if you go to school today, after school's done, I'll buy you a lunchbox. And she knew that I wanted a Superman lunchbox.
Yep.
Really into Superman. Obviously, this is in the 1980s. The Superman movies are out, so I was a huge Superman fan. And then I stopped crying a little bit. Not completely. But I was like, yes, I want that lunchbox. So after school, I did make it to the first day of kindergarten. After school, she took me to the grocery store afterwards, bought that Superman lunchbox, and then she also took my blankie and made that into a Superman cape. She actually dyed it red, put an S on the back, and I wore that around with my Superman lunchbox, and then also bought the Superman underoos. Oh. So I had the Superman underwear and the shirt. I wish I still had all those today, but unfortunately I think I outgrew them a little bit. But that lunchbox, if I still had that, that would definitely be worth some money today. Yeah. And I don't know what happened to that. I'm sure it got kind of tossed out throughout the years, but man, that Superman lunchbox was awesome though, and it helped me to go to school. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Oh, absolutely, sure. So as we wrap up, I think one of the things like for our viewers to know as well is, not only campus historian, not only, could we say locksmith? Sure, you can say that if you want. Yeah.
Locksmith. Yeah. There's also some things involved in your world around bikes and hammocks. Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because we have today, I mean, as we're taping, it's kind of like that false spring here in Michigan. It's nice out. Eventually it will be nice again. I hope so. Tell us about bikes and hammocks, if you don't. Sure. So obviously you mentioned, my locksmith position. The locksmith position moved over to campus safety in 2012. They did some reorganization here. So I went over there, and I was moving all my stuff over to campus safety.
Down in the basement at Campus Safety, they had a lot of confiscated bikes throughout the years. A ton of them down there. They just collected them for the past 5 or 10 years. And upon going down there, I noticed some of the bikes were in decent shape. And so I mentioned to the director, Kevin, I was like, Kevin, some of these bikes down here are pretty good. I could fix some of these up. I've got my own tools. Why don't we do something rental-wise down here? Kevin's like, well, why don't you give me a price? Let me know what it's going to cost to fix some of the bikes up, and maybe we'll see what we can do. So I found probably 5 really good bikes and fixed those up, and then started the rental program in 2013. And as we kind of made money and kind of things like that, we bought more and more bikes throughout the years. So we're up to 40 bikes now as far as our bike rentals are concerned, and we've had just over 2,000 rentals over the past 12 years or so.
Yeah.
In 2016, we decided to add some hammock rentals in there. We've seen people obviously around campus with their own hammocks and thought, this might be a good thing to start up. So we ended up buying 10 hammocks. They've all got the AQ logo on them. They've all got tree-friendly straps. Whenever I mentioned we've got about 10,000 trees on campus, so there's always an open tree for somebody to throw a hammock out there. Those are usually only by the weekend or the day. We've only got 10 of those where bike rentals I'll do for the day, the weekend, the month, semester. Very cost-friendly. We're obviously not in it to make a bunch of money, mainly just to kind of service the bikes and kind of keep them going throughout the years.
Awesome. Anything on the horizon, possibly?
Well, there's always things on there. I'm always adding more and more tours. I do the tree and leaf tours. Obviously, people kind of know me from that. We had our biggest year with that. Had over like 56 tours this year. The most people ever came to campus. We had 529 people attend those tours this year. We had a lot of elementary kids and middle school kids this year. I mean, one of the things that I've always wanted to do is kind of make Aquinas College a field trip destination. Reach out to middle schools, reach out to elementary schools and get them on campus and kind of start that Aquinas College journey early, hoping that they enjoy that when they're in the 5th and 6th grade, and they'll remember that, when they become a junior and senior. So always trying to add to that. I'll probably always continue to do the haunted tours. I get tons of questions on that. This past year I added some Christmas tours. I dressed up as the Grinch. Some people might have saw that.
I saw that.
I did some tours of Holmdene, dressed as the Grinch, and told some Christmas stories, and I threw in a couple of haunted stories, of course, in there too. One of the things that people keep asking me about, though, is tunnels on campus. Like, hey, can we get a tunnel tour? That might be coming up at the next staff assembly, Terry. I'm actually giving you a heads up on that there could be a small presentation on where are all the tunnels on campus. So
excellent, yes.
That could be something. Everybody keeps asking me about tunnels. Can I see the tunnels? Where are they at? So that may be something on the horizon, but we'll see on that. But I'm always thinking of new ideas and wanting to do new things, so there'll definitely be more on the horizon.
Excellent. Well, thank you for being a part of the Aquinas community. We appreciate you a lot, Ryan.
Thank you very much, Terry. Thank you for having me today.
Absolutely. And we'll be right back with our next guest. Again, Tuesdays with Terry. We look forward to seeing you in a little bit. Welcome back to Tuesdays with Terry. We're excited. Our next guest, our VP of Advancement. Scott, it's good to have you here.
Thanks, Terry. Thanks for inviting me on the show.
Absolutely. We're going to talk, obviously, on Tuesdays with Terry, all things Aquinas, but also to get to know you a little bit. So you've met many people across campus in our community. Tell us a little bit about how you got to Aquinas, like your journey here, and also kind of what's your kind of background in terms of degrees as well.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, it's hard to believe that it's just been over a year since that I learned of this opportunity to join the team here at Aquinas. And I think it seems longer because people have been so welcoming and like jumping right in. And as you know, as cabinet solving problems and working together. So it feels like longer than that, but just about a year ago, I became aware of the opportunity to lead and rebuild advancement. And it's a unique opportunity to almost like a startup culture, like rebuilding a team that had turned over in the context of an established legacy and tradition at the school. So that's what appealed to me. My educational background is a bachelor's in management and communication from Hope College, and then Grand Valley State University for MBA.
Okay. So as you think about your journey here, like and you and I have talked about this, like what drew you here? Like when you're going through the discernment of joining us here at Aquinas, what were a couple of things that just drew you here?
Yeah, I would say there's 3 things. One is the mission, uniquely like with lifelong learning in it, with kind of being very explicit around helping students find good jobs after graduation. Maybe somewhat ironically, not every private liberal arts school is that straightforward about. That's part of our purpose, is preparing people, for the rest of their life. And so those things are right up front in the mission, and those are also components that my career had touched on in the past. So there was like this missional fit. Personally, I was at a point where I wanted to push my limits and be challenged in new ways. And so there was a component of that for sure. And then the third is kind of a part of my background. I grew up Catholic and have already found a couple of times and connections between especially Dominican sisters and the education of my grandparents, parishes that they've been a part of, that, priests that, Sister Aquinas taught in Bay City. I'm originally from the east side of the state. So there's been these really neat kind of nostalgic connections that are kind of the third component.
So when we think about kind of moving forward, and now that you kind of have that advancement team in place, not kind of, you have the advancement team in place, what are some things to, over the next kind of few months as we move into year 2 with Scott Travis? Like, what are some things? What are some things that you're looking forward to in terms of working with the team and some of the things that may be in works?
Yeah, I mean, it's fascinating to get to know new professionals and at a place that cares about people. So it's not like everyone just come in here, they do their work thing. Like, people are learning about you're going to ask me, I think, about pets later, and we'll talk about that. I mean, there's intentionality around getting to know people for who they really are beyond what they can do professionally. And so I'm really proud. Like, we have a team that's done that. They've built trust really fast, both with each other, but also within that campus community. So on one hand, there's the personal side of, like, a year from now being able to know more people on campus. I was at my last employer for almost 20 years, so being the new guy is a whole different experience. I'm still meeting a lot of people and getting to know people. So I think that's encouraging. There's also a lot of opportunity here at Aquinas, from the fundraising side to how we use our campus. As you know, the directions to take the academic program in a changing society, different views on higher education, and how do you respond to all that. And so that's exciting work. I think I'll always want to work at a place that's about transforming lives and helping people meet their highest potential. And I think there's ways Aquinas can do that even better. So looking forward to it. Yeah,
it's exciting. And I know that with your team connecting to different folks, both on campus, off campus, has really got some nice energy. So thank you for that, to you and your team. So one of the things we've often talked about is looking at, us doing the hobby farm.
Oh, yeah.
So we're going to combine, like, this is going to be a much more expansive Biscuits Corner.
Okay.
So it's not only going to talk about your chocolate lab.
Okay.
But there's some other pets in here.
We have a few of them.
Yes. So go ahead and kind of walk us through we can call this an advanced or an elaborate Biscuits Corner. So Scott, walk us through
Biscuits Corner. So I'm a wannabe farmer when I refer to how long I've lived at a place in winters.
Okay.
So we're on our 4th winter.
Okay. Yes.
at a 120-year-old farmhouse that we're working on remodeling, and I have 3 daughters, and they all love animals, but especially our oldest daughter really loves taking care of animals, and so we have the space to do it. With the price of eggs right now, I'm feeling pretty good about the chickens.
Okay.
We've got 9 egg-laying chickens.
Okay.
We have our dog that we adopted about a year ago, and then my oldest daughter has 4 rabbits.
Okay, so let's walk through the names. Are there names across the board? Or
at one point, the chickens had names that were all like different TV characters.
Okay.
But honestly, you kind of lose some, and then you have new chickens join, and I couldn't tell you what their names are anymore. We don't name the chickens. It's like one of those things you do as an early chicken owner. I'm going to name these.
Yeah, our first round of chickens, my youngest named them all.
Yes.
I mean, it was, and she really just embraced the name around, like, there was like Daffy, but I said that's a duck, and she's like, well, it doesn't matter. But then she went to like Extra Crispy. Which is a whole nother approach to naming the chickens.
They weren't that.
They weren't that. So
and then the rabbits are all Greek. We have an Athena.
Okay. Yes.
So my oldest daughter likes Greek mythology, And then the dog's name is Queen.
Oh, okay.
Which sounds like we spoiled her, but
I'm sure
that
you did.
was inherited. That was
okay.
her name, and she
Okay.
responded to it when we adopted her, so we kept it going. So.
Okay. So in all of this, it's interesting. We've talked about this, the whole aspect of we're transitioning into an old farmhouse as well. And, our chickens now have moved. So we have 5.
Yep.
And they're at that stage where due to the move, they haven't adjusted yet. So I haven't seen the eggs
Gotta get the
return
egg
quite
production.
yet.
Light can make a big difference too. We
Yep.
have a timer on a light, and if that gets off a little bit, we can notice the difference.
And I just did the new light this weekend. So
there you go.
slowly working on it. So, one of the segments that we could do, Scott, is hobby farm tips. We could come on the show and give hobby farm tips.
Yeah.
But I don't have rabbits though. I don't have
They're-
rabbits.
yeah.
But so
The rabbits are a little contentious at our house.
Oh, okay.
They're more work than most of us see the value in.
Okay.
Don't show this YouTube video to my oldest daughter.
Okay. That's your decision on who watches.
But they do provide really good fertilizer. It's
That is true. Yeah.
ready to go right into the garden.
Yep. Chickens, I've been impressed with, that whole process. And then when we were where I lived previously, I'd have my faculty would want like coffee cans of the chicken manure to help in their compost.
Yep.
So they'd often ask, and I'm like, oh, that's an easy. They bring me an empty
Yeah.
kind of coffee
Yeah,
can.
the community garden out here in
Yep.
front of Home Dean and the compost bins everywhere just helps. Another thing that helps make me feel like home. So.
Oh, that is true. That is true. So when we, look at, the overall aspect of Aquinas College, and as you're talking to donors and supporters, kind of what are some of the things they're saying about Aquinas in terms of, their experience with it? What have you seen that may be different from where you previously were at?
Sure.
Yeah.
I think that one of the hardest challenges is there's some headwinds for private liberal arts, faith-based higher education. And one of the biggest differences is like Aquinas is feeling those and has felt those more than other places that I've connected with. And so, and that goes all the way through, I think, our culture here on campus. Our donors definitely pick up on that. Like they know we've had challenging times throughout history. So a lot of times we're talking about what those challenges are, what our plans are to try to get through them. And as the new guy, I've come in and I love history. And so I read the first 140 years of Aquinas' history book with my friends over at Ollie.
Yeah.
And there's a resiliency that's been through that entire story, and I still think is there today. Like we find a way to figure out how to get it done. And so I will say, because of some of the turnover that we've had, there's a lot of reconnecting, reestablishing relationships, listening for advice, trying to get people's attention again. So we're working on that.
And I think you speak to something that's been like the resilience of individuals to really help move the institution forward is amazing to me. And I think that's how, as we navigate what other small liberal arts institutions are navigating right now with changes in many things, that's a piece of, that solid core of our being that'll help us move forward.
Yeah. I will add to your question the answer of a lot of times I'll hear stories of relational impact, both when students were here, but also like it follows them in their life. I've heard stories of alumni who, their kids in the children's hospital and the Dominican sisters are putting together a meal train and reaching out and supporting them. So I think that sense of community and support, starts here in the student experience. But a lot because of the faith and the values lived out here, like follows you for the rest of your life, which most graduates probably don't think of until it happens, and then they realize how valuable that is.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Scott, for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me.
Appreciate it. We are going to end our episode 9, with Tuesdays with Terry here in our beautiful Home Dean studio. One of the things looking forward to, if you're interested in being a guest on Tuesdays with Terry, feel free to reach out. We can get you connected and on the schedule moving forward. Lots of exciting things happening in our upcoming schedule of guests with current students and other faculty and staff looking to share not only their connection to Aquinas, but some of the exciting things moving forward. So have a great week and see you next time on Tuesdays with Terry.